أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 102, Surah At-Taubah. Now in the following ayat, the wisdom behind dissolving the treaties is mentioned. The wisdom behind dissolving the treaties is mentioned. The reasons, the evidences that why should all of these treaties with the disbelievers be cancelled now. With the mushrikeen, why should they be cancelled? And what's the reason behind giving them a 4-month period of safety? What's the wisdom? What's the reason? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كَيْفَ? How is it? يَكُونُ, it is. Meaning, how can there be لِلْمُشْرِكِينَ, for the polytheists, عَهْدٌ, a treaty, عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, in the sight of Allah, وَعِنْدَ رَسُولِهِ, and with His Messenger. How can there be a treaty of the mushrikeen with Allah and His Messenger? It's not possible. Kaifa over here is for ta'ajjub, for amazement. How is it possible? It's not possible. There is no reason that there should be a treaty of peace between them and between Allah and His Messenger. It's not possible. And kaifa is also for istifham, nafi. What does istifham mean? Interrogation. And nafi, negation. So it's a question for the purpose of negation. Meaning there is none. It cannot be possible that the mushrikeen should have an ahd عند Allah wa عند رسوله. إلا except الذين عاهدتم عند المسجد الحرام, except for those people whom you made a promise with near the sacred masjid. So the mushrikeen, it's not possible that you have a covenant with them. Why? Because they have been breaking their covenants. They have been violating their treaties. If you look at it, the treaty of Hudaybiyah was made. But what did the mushrikeen do? They violated that. So how can you have a treaty with these people? It's not possible. Why should you have? When they're not sincere, when they're not loyal. Except for those mushrikeen. Which mushrikeen? الَّذِينَ عَاهَدْتُمْ عِنْدَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. Those mushrikeen whom you made a promise with near the sacred masjid. Which covenant is this referring to? This is, according to some, referring to the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. And according to some, it refers to the treaty of peace that was made with some Arab tribes. And which tribes are they? The tribes of Banu Kinana, Banu Khuza'a, and Banu Damra. Damra. Dad, Mim, Ra, Ta marbuta. What are they? Banu Kinana, Banu Khuza'a, and Banu Damra. So these tribes, they sided with the Muslims at Hudaybiyah. Who did they side with? The Muslims at Hudaybiyah. And they did not violate the treaty. Who violated the treaty? It was the mushrikeen. It was not Banu Khuza'a who attacked. It was the Banu Bakr, the allies of mushrikeen, who attacked them. So yes, although they're not Muslim, but still they have been true to their covenants with you. So these people, you have a treaty with them. فَمَا, so as long as إِسْتَقَامُوا لَكُمْ, they remain steadfast for you. Ma over here is a conditional particle, and it gives a sense of as long as. So فَمَا اسْتَقَامُوا, as long as they remain firm, lakum, for you. What does istiqamah mean? Istiqamah, to be steadfast, to remain firm upon something, to become straight, to become right and proper. So what does it mean by istiqamu over here? That if they remain upright with regards to their treaty, that they don't violate it, they don't go against it, they faithfully carry out all of the terms, they keep the pact, they don't violate it in any way. So as long as they keep the covenant, what should you do? فَاسْتَقِيمُوا لَهُمْ, you also keep the covenant for them. You also fulfill it. You also fulfill all of its terms. Why? Because إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَّقِينَ, indeed Allah loves those people who have taqwa. Those people who, out of the fear of Allah, they don't violate the treaty that they have made with other people, the promises that they have made with others. So, in this ayah, the reason for the annulment of the pacts is being explained. And what is that reason? That the mushrikeen, it's not possible that you can have a covenant with them, because they have proven themselves unworthy. They have proven themselves untrustworthy. And when someone shows that he's untrustworthy, unreliable, unpredictable, then how can you keep a treaty with them? The reason behind making a treaty was to establish peace. But if despite the treaty there is no peace, then there is no benefit in keeping any treaty with these people. But as for those people who have been true, who have been sincere, who have been faithful, you also remain faithful to them. And in this ayah, a very important rule is explained to the Muslims with regards to observing and abiding by international laws. That if you've made a covenant, a promise with someone who is a non-Muslim, from outside of your country, outside of your nation, and you have agreed to certain things, then what should you do? Abide by them. As long as they abide by them as well. As long as they keep true, you also keep true. You understand? Because sometimes there are Muslims who say, oh, on us is the obligation to only, obey Allah and His Messenger and the Islamic law. And when you're living in a non-Muslim land, you can cheat them, you can lie to them, you can do whatever you want to. You can break the traffic laws, you can work illegally, you can do this, you can do that. Why? Because you're not obligated. But what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to us over here? That you've made a treaty with them, and as long as they are true to their treaty, you are true to them as well. As long as they're fulfilling their responsibilities, you also have fulfilled your responsibilities. Just because you're non-Muslim does not mean you become unfaithful. Because if you do, then you don't have taqwa. And who does Allah love? Only those people who have taqwa. And you see, sometimes it's possible that a treaty with a non-Muslim is not a formal one. It could be an informal one. A formal one, for example, a person becomes a citizen of a particular country, and he says, I will abide by the rules. Then what does it mean? He has to abide by the rules. He has to. As long as those rules don't contradict his deen. Now, one is formal and the other is informal. It's not written anywhere, but it's understood. It's understood. So even these rules, we must abide by them. Why? In order to keep peace in the world. And if we don't do that, there will be no peace in the world. Kaifa? How is it so? Meaning, how can there be a treaty with the mushrikeen? It's not possible that you can have a treaty with the mushrikeen. Kaifa comes again for emphasis, for repetition, and also for the purpose of negation. That how is it? It's not possible that you can have a treaty with them. And just before we continue, if you notice, every time an exception is made, those people who keep their promises, from amongst the non-Muslims. So don't generalize. Don't generalize. So kaifa, how is it so that وَإِيَظْهَرُوا عَلَيْكُمْ, if the mushrikeen overpower you, if they gain dominance over you, if they are victorious over you, then what will they do? لَا يَرْقُبُوا فِيكُمْ, they do not observe concerning you إِلًّا وَلَا ذِمَّةً, any pact of kinship or covenant of protection. If they get the better of you, if they get the upper hand over you, they don't care at all about any pact of kinship or any covenant of protection that they have made with you. In other words, they will harm you, they will kill you, they will do anything to inflict harm on you. They will not care about you. So how can you continue to have peace treaties with them? If you look at it, the mushrikeen of Mecca, they were relatives of who? Of some of the Muslims who were in Medina. Even if they were not relatives, they were Arabs. Okay, they had different tribes, but they were of the same people. So, if they get the upper hand over you, they don't care anything about you. They will harm you, they will kill you, they don't care. So how can you continue to renew peace treaties with them? Especially when they have proven their untrustworthiness. that la yarqubu. Yarqubu is from the root letters ra, qaf, ba. Ruqub. Ruqub is to observe, to watch. Raqib. Inna Allah kana alaykum raqiba. So la yarqubu, they don't watch, they don't observe, they don't take into consideration. Fikum, concerning you, illan. What does illan mean? Tell me, what is this word? Is it a harf? No, why? Does it mean except? Does it mean if not? No. Then what is this word? It's an ism. How? It ends with a tanween. So illan is a noun. What's the root? Root is hamza, lam, lam. And il, what does it mean? Halaf, which is a social pact. What is it? A social pact, societal law. Literally the word half means ju'ar. What does ju'ar mean? The mooing sound that the cow makes when out of fear, out of panic. They just imagine they're cows and they're being chased, or they have been attacked, or they become frightened by something. So they will begin mooing out loud. So that sound is called ju'ar. So a halaf is called halaf. Why? Because people raise their voices and they announce when they have made alliances with someone, when they have made a pact with someone. So illan, what is it? Societal laws, social pacts. Like for example, there is one tribe and there is another tribe. What do? They make a pact of friendship, of alliance, that we are together. So this pact is what? It's a social pact. It's not between two people, it's in the society. The whole society has to observe it. Isn't it so? The whole society has to abide by it. So it becomes like a societal law that this tribe is our friend. We are together. So it's of the social laws that we have to protect them, we have to support them, we have to defend them. So they don't take into consideration any kind of social pacts with you. If you have made pacts with them, they break them if they get the upper hand over you. Like what the mushrikeen did. That when the Banu Bakr attacked the tribe of Banu Khuza'a, did they care about the pact that they had made? Did they care about the societal laws? Did they care about the social pact? Nothing. Not at all. It is also said the word il, it means qaraba. What does qaraba mean? Close relationship. That is between two people. So, they don't care about you any ill, meaning any kinship, any oath, any promise, any treaty, any relationship, any kind of tribal affiliation. They don't care at all. Wala dhimma, nor any pact. What does dhimma mean? Dhimma is from the root letters dhal, mim, mim. And dhimma is a political pact. A political pact of protection. From this word is the word dhimmi. Who is a dhimmi? A non-Muslim living in a Muslim land. Why is he called dhimmi? Because he has taken the pact of protection from who? From the government. He has political refuge, political asylum. Do you understand? So no one can harm him. Although he's a non-Muslim, but he's protected by who? By the Muslim government. So if the mushrikeen have the upper hand over you, they don't care if you are related to them. They don't care if you have made a pact with them. They don't care if there is some international law that has been made to protect you, that you are a citizen of a particular country, or that you are of a particular tribe, you are from a particular nation, you are related to them, you belong to the same people as them. They don't care. Just the fact that you're a Muslim, they will get to you. They will harm you. Do you understand? They don't care where you're from. They don't care you're related to them. They don't care they've made a pact with you. When they get the upper hand over you, they will harm you. But what do they do on the surface? Yurdunakum, they please you. Yurdu from the root letters, ra, da, dia. Bi afwahihim, with their mouths. With their beautiful, charming words. They use words to please you. That yes, we have a treaty of peace. We have a pact. You're one of us. We are one of you. we're never going to harm you, we're going to protect you, we're your friends, we will always stand with you. They please you with your mouths. But in reality, وَتَأْبَى قُلُوبُهُمْ, in their hearts, they reject. Ta'ba is from the root letters, Hamza, Ba, Ya, which is to refuse something with shiddah. They refuse the pact that they make on the surface in their hearts. وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ, and most of them are fasiqun, they're sinful. They're violators of the pact. So if the disbelievers, if they have a chance to harm Muslims, to cause mischief, they will leave nothing unharmed. They will spare no Muslim. They will spare no Muslim. So because of this reason, you cannot have a pact with them. You cannot have a pact with them. Like for example, you know about how certain people, they came to the Prophet ﷺ in Medina. And they said that, send some of your people with you, we want to learn about the deen. And it was like a promise that they had made with the Prophet ﷺ of protecting those people, of looking after those people. What did they do? They took those Sahaba and they killed them all. So when they get the better hand over you, they don't care if they've made a treaty with you. They don't care if they're even relatives. They don't care. In Makkah, what was happening? So many Sahaba, they were being persecuted by their own uncles, by their own fathers, by their own family members. Abu Lahab, who was he? The uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. But how he persecuted the Prophet ﷺ. Abu Jahl also. All of these people were related somehow or the other. But when it came to harming the Muslims, they didn't care at all. They didn't care at all. And for peace to establish in a society, what is it that grants peace to people? It's either ties of kinship or it is covenants and agreements. Isn't it so? Because you're related to me, this is why I'll help you. This is why I won't harm you. Or because we have a covenant, this is why we will not cheat one another. Like for example, if there are two brothers, if they're working together in a business, because they have blood ties, they will not cheat one another. If they do, other family members are going to come. They're going to say, look, you're brothers, you're supposed to be together. Correct? That will make sure that there is peace in the society. On the other hand, there is an agreement between two people who are not relatives, who are not related. But what is it that's going to ensure peace? It's the pact, it's the agreement. But if there is someone who doesn't care about relationship, who doesn't care about an agreement, a pact, a promise, then how can you trust them? How can you trust such a person? You cannot trust them anymore. So these mushrikeen, over all of these years, they have only proved their untrustworthiness. So now, no more treaties will be kept with them. This is why the Bara'ah is now declared. This is why this adhan has been made, that no more treaties with the mushrikeen. All of them are finished, because they are not worthy of it. Moreover, what other crimes have they committed? Ishtaraw. They have exchanged the signs of Allah, the verses of Allah, for how much? For a thamanan qalilan, for a very small price. The ayat of Allah, whether it refers to the Quran, or it refers to other signs that were shown to them, whatever ayat have been shown to them, whatever ayat have been given to them, what have they done? Have they taken those? No. Instead, they have given preference to a thamanan qalilan, to a small price. What is that small price? Worldly benefits. فَصَدُّوا عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ. And as a result, they have stopped people from His way, meaning from the way of Allah. إِنَّهُمْ سَاءَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Indeed, how evil it is what they are doing. What is it that they're doing? Their treatment of the ayat of Allah. They're stopping people from the way of Allah. What an evil action this is. For example, we see that the mushrikeen of Makkah, they would not accept Islam, although they knew about its truthfulness, as we learned earlier, that these big leaders of Quraysh, they would go and listen to the Prophet ﷺ recite the Quran in the middle of the night. And they knew about the truthfulness, but still they wouldn't accept. Why? Because they were the leaders of Arabia. They were the custodians of Kaaba. If they would accept Islam, what did they fear? All our money, where is it going to come from now? We're going to lose everything. we're going to lose our leadership. We're going to lose this superiority we have over all other people if we become Muslim. Like we learn in Surah Al-Qasas, ayah number 57, that وَقَالُوا إِن نَتَّبِعِ الْهُدَى مَعَكَ نُتَخَطَّفْ مِنْ أَرْضِنَا. And they say, if we were to follow the guidance with you, we would be swept away from our land. We would have nothing left. And the Muslims who migrated from Makkah to Medina, they had to suffer so much. Isn't it? So they did not want to take that life of hardship in exchange for the worldly enjoyment that they were experiencing. This is why they did not want to accept Islam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, they have given up the ayat of Allah for a thamanan qalilan, for a very small price, for the pleasure of this dunya. And they're also stopping people from the way of Allah. For example, the people of Ta'if, they would financially support the Quraysh against the believers. They would financially aid the mushrikeen of Makkah, the Quraysh, to harm the believers. It is said that they financially supported them even at the battle of Badr. And afterwards as well, at the battle of Khandaq, it wasn't just the mushrikeen of Makkah who had come against the Muslims, it was the various tribes. So all of them together are stopping people from the way of Allah. How can you have a treaty of peace with them? How? They don't deserve it.
إِنَّهُمْ indeed they سَاءَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ how bad what they do.
لَا يَرْقُبُونَ they do not observe, they do not consider فِي مُؤْمِنٍ concerning a believer إِلًّا وَلَا ذِمَّةٍ any pact of kinship or covenant of protection. When it comes to a believer, they don't care if that believer is related to them or that with that believer they have a pact of protection. They don't care at all. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُعْتَدُونَ and it is they who were the transgressors. This ayah has been repeated again for emphasis. The same concept has been mentioned again, that such people you cannot have a treaty with them. They don't deserve to that you have terms of peace with these people. Because if you do, they're only going to use that against you. And you have seen that over the years. فَإِن تَابُوا but then if they repent. Again, the door of Tawbah is open. Again, if these people repent, وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ and they establish the salah. Again, these two conditions must be fulfilled. وَآتَوُوا الزَّكَاةَ and they also give the zakat. إِقَامَةُ الصَّلَاةِ and giving the zakat. Then what does Allah say? فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ then they become your brothers in religion. Ikhwan. What does ikhwan mean? It's the plural of akh. That you have ukhuwah with them. Which ukhuwah is this? Of deen, not of nasab, of deen. That once they become believers, once they start praying, once they give the zakat, then they are your Muslim brothers and sisters. Then you cannot treat them like the other. You cannot doubt their faith. You cannot doubt their Islam. You have to take them at their surface. And you have to treat them as your own brothers. فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ and this is something that is very important for us. That if there is a person who becomes a Muslim, we must treat that person like our own brother and sister. Just like we treat other people who are Muslim as well. Sometimes what happens? Just because of color of their skin, or because of the accent that they speak in, or because of the clothes that they might be wearing, we treat people differently. Even though they're coming to the masjid to pray. Despite that, we will treat them differently. And sometimes people continue to go to converts and they keep asking, okay, so how did you become Muslim? How did you become Muslim? And 20 years have passed, but still people will never forget that they were non-Muslim before, once upon a time. And some converts, they get offended by this. That why don't you accept me as a Muslim? Get over the fact that I was a non-Muslim before and I converted. Literally, some people get offended by that. So it's not polite that every time you see a convert, you ask them, okay, how did you become Muslim? How did you become Muslim? Every person continues to ask them. Sometimes they like to share. If they like to share, go ahead. A point comes where you have to take them in as your own. And this is what Allah is saying. فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ they're your brothers. They're your own brothers and sisters. فِي الدِّينِ وَنُفَصِّلُ الْآيَاتِ, and we explain openly the verses, لِقَوْمِ يَعْلَمُونَ, for people who know. Only the knowledgeable ones, they will benefit from these commands that have been given over here. And again, if you notice that Tawbah, Zakat and Salah are mentioned. Sometimes it happens that, for example, two people, they wish to get married. One is a Muslim and the other is a non-Muslim. What is a non-Muslim told? You have to become a Muslim, especially in the case of a man. Correct? So when he becomes a Muslim, he says the kalima. People still wonder if he's really a Muslim. What's the evidence? He's praying the salah and he's giving the zakat. These two things must be done. And these are of the first things that must be taught to a person who becomes Muslim. One of the first things that must be taught. What? Salat and zakat. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he said, we have been ordered, we have been commanded to perform salat and to pay the zakat. And he who does not pay zakat, his salat is not acceptable. Do you understand? That we have been ordered to perform salat and to pay the zakat. And he who does not pay zakat, he who does not give the zakat, then his salat is also not acceptable. Why? Why? Because he's only doing one and not the other. So what he's doing is incomplete. It is insufficient. And whatever is incomplete, it does not carry any weight. It does not carry any weight. As we learned in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 208, that Ya ayyuhalladina amanu, udkhulu fis silmi kaffa. Enter into Islam completely. Don't pick and choose. Don't say that I'm only going to pray salah or I'm only going to give the zakat. Because there are some Muslims who only emphasize on salah, or there are others who only emphasize on zakat. However, both are necessary. All 5 pillars of Islam are important.